This is Alpha Ace, and today, we're counting down 20 of the most anticipated Souls-like games that fans just can't wait to play. Let's get started. Nioh 3 is like shaping up to be another intense action RPG set in Japan's feudal era, packed with tough enemies and deep combat mechanics. If you've played the first two, you know the fight won't be easy. Every battle demands quick reflexes and, smart choices. This time around, the game's introducing a new main character and some fresh gameplay tweaks that, promise smoother, faster combat. The mix of samurai skills and supernatural powers makes every fight feel, unpredictable and exciting. Plus, the world's atmosphere keeps that dark, mythological vibe that fans love. What's really cool is how Nioh 3 looks like it's building on the story while giving players more freedom to customize their playstyle. Expect to see new weapons, abilities, and maybe some surprises in the enemy designs. Also, it seems like the developers are adding more challenging bosses and more variety in enemy types, which, honestly, is what makes the game so addictive for a lot of people. So, yeah, if you're into games that really test your skill and patience, Nioh 3 will probably be right up your alley. So get ready to dive back into that brutal, beautiful world, but don't expect it to go easy on you.
Of you to have entered the depths of hell.
Lords of the Fallen 2 is the big makeover the game honestly needed. It's not just some patch with a few bug fixes. They went all in after, over 50 free updates? Now it's basically the definitive version. The biggest thing? Co-op's totally reworked. You and your buddy both keep your progress, share loot, and actually get to revive each other mid-fight. And the Friends Pass? Man, that's wild. You can drag a friend who doesn't even own the game through the entire campaign with you, and their stuff still carries over. Combat's smoother now, movement feels less clunky, the lock-on isn't fighting you anymore, and hey, there's even a proper jump button so platforming doesn't feel like punishment. The UI's cleaner, the HUD kind of fades in only when you need it, and weapons sound way beefier when they hit. They've even sprinkled in a bunch of quality of life tweaks. Better tutorials, a handy guidebook, and that magic lamp now subtly points you toward your objective instead of leaving you wandering around like a lost tourist. Honestly, it's kind of wild how far it's come. If you bounced off the launch version, this update feels like the game finally grew into what it was supposed to be. And, with the sequel already cooking for 2026, feels like this series might actually stick the landing this time. The Relic First Guardian is looking pretty solid as an action RPG. You play as the last Guardian in this world that's basically falling apart after some huge relic got shattered. Your job? You gotta find all the pieces and stop the darkness from taking over. What's kinda cool is how you level up. It's not your usual grind fest. Instead, you improve your skills with runes, crafting, and items. So it's more about exploring and fighting smart than just grinding XP. Combat feels pretty dynamic too. You get 5 different weapon types, each with their own unique moves. So, whether you're into heavy hits, fast dodges, or parrying and countering enemy attacks, there's something for you. The world is semi-open, giving you a mix of story-driven quests and open exploration. You'll travel through different areas, from forests to ruins, each with their own challenges and bosses. Visually, it looks impressive, detailed environments and smooth animations. Plus, the art style pulls from Korean folklore, which gives it a really unique vibe. It's dropping in 2025 on PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. So if you're into action RPGs that mix strategy and exploration, this one's definitely worth checking out. Hell Is Us is shaping up to be a pretty unique action-adventure game. You play as Raimi, a peacekeeper who goes off the grid to find his missing parents in this war-torn country called Hadia. What's interesting is the game's approach to exploration. There's no map or quest markers to hold your hand. You gotta rely on environmental hints, talking to NPCs, and your own instincts to figure out where to go next. It's kinda like those old-school games where you really had to explore and pay attention to your surroundings. Combat is intense and pretty tactical. You'll use melee weapons like swords, spears, and axes, each with their own style. Plus, you get a drone to distract enemies. But stamina management is key, because if you push too hard, you're left vulnerable. so every fight is a real challenge. The world itself is semi-open, mixing story-driven paths with open exploration. One thing that stands out is how death works. Enemies don't respawn after you die or rest, which adds weight to every encounter. It really makes you think twice about your actions and keeps the tension high. Hell Is Us is set to release September 4th, 2025, with a free demo dropping August 12th. Riven Crown is this intense Souls-like action RPG that drops you right into a fractured realm ruled by ancient kings and corrupted gods who've gone silent. Your character? Well, they're a fallen warrior who's been reborn in this mysterious world after dying elsewhere. Combat here is kind of unique. It mixes traditional Souls mechanics with fighting game-style combos. Each weapon comes with its own set of combos you gotta learn and master. Timing and precision are huge, so every block and strike really counts. Oh, and there's this dual blocking system where you can either stand or crouch to block attacks. Guessing wrong? Yeah, that can get you seriously punished. Plus, there's a super meter that charges up over time. When it fills, you enter this turbo mode with crazy speed and power, which can totally turn the tide of tough fights. Gear matters a lot too. Every weapon and armor piece comes with a special ability. Stick with it long enough and you actually unlock that skill permanently, even if you switch gear later. It's all about commitment and mastery. The world itself isn't just one big hallway. It's non-linear and packed with secrets, from eerie dungeons to ruined cities, all woven with deep lore about ancient gods and lost civilizations. The Duskbloods is shaping up to be seriously wild. It's a new multiplayer action RPG from Software coming to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2026. Picture it, gothic, vampiric streets dripping with fog, crumbling cathedrals. Kinda feels like Bloodborne wandered off into Elden Ring's open-world territory. Here's the hook. You're one of the Bloodsworn. Up to 8 players dropped into this PvPvE hunt. You're tracking rivals, dodging monsters, grabbing whatever edge you can before somebody else does. Matches turn into this tangled mess of duels, ambushes, and the customization? Yeah, you can lose hours in that hub area. Outfits, weapons, abilities, all tuned to your style. You even pick your role in each match, and that changes the kind of rewards you're chasing. One round you're hunting, next round you're the one being hunted. Then there's this event system that, well, it just loves to mess with you. Mid-match, the rules can change. Maybe a new monster shows up, maybe the win condition shifts. You think you're ahead, then suddenly you're scrambling. The lore, classic FromSoft. It doesn't tell you, it makes you dig for it. Bits of history and weapon descriptions, strange dialogue from NPCs, environmental storytelling that leaves you thinking, wait, what just happened? Daba, Land of Waterscar. Looks like it's gonna be this deep, Souls-like action RPG, and it's developed by Dark Star, same folks behind Sinner, Sacrifice for Redemption. You embody a clay puppet that's kind of sentient, and you're journeying through a world that's literally crumbling. The mission? Track down scattered water fragments before everything falls apart. The world design is pretty killer. Interconnected zones that take you through ruins of ancient cities, shadowy prisons, snowy wastelands, floating cities, and rift valleys. It doesn't lay out the path for you, so you gotta figure stuff out as you go. And that really amps up the sense of exploration. Combat's intense and tactical. Think Souls mechanics where reading enemy movements is key. Also, you don't just use one character. There are 2 playable ones, each with their own style. One's more heavy melee and magic focused, while the other's more nimble with bows and lighter weapons. Visually, it looks polished. Rich environments, detailed enemies, all wrapped in this high-quality presentation that grabs your eye and makes you want to dive deeper. They showed off about 22 minutes of gameplay at China Joy 2023, and man, it left people eager. No release date yet, but it's confirmed for PS5 under PlayStation's China Hero project. So there's legit support behind it. Number 13. All right, let's dive into Vita. This one's shaping up as a pretty intriguing Souls-like meets roguelite. It drops you into a training simulator run by a super advanced AI called Vita, where the idea is to master combat and uncover lost memories in a post-apocalyptic world. What really stands out is the combat vibe. It's that weighty, strategic Souls-like rhythm, where dodge blocking and timing matter as much as weapon choice. But then there's this overclock gauge you build up in fights. Hit it right, and you unleash a powerful skill that can totally flip the fight in your favor. The roguelike twist comes in through random maps. New gear, modules, each run throws in new layouts, hidden spaces, items, and enemies. So it feels fresh every time and keeps you thinking on your feet. Bosses? Yeah, they're no joke. Tough as but that makes beating them feel damn satisfying. Gear variety is also neat. Weapons, shields, and armor are random drops, so swapping loadouts changes how you approach combat. Light and nimble heavy hitters, shield tanks, it's all there to play with. So if dealing with tough combat in shifting, unpredictable environments is your jam, Vita is looking like it could be a real standout for both Souls purists and newer players diving in for the first time. Number 12, Nazareth: The Fallen World. This one's like a dark fantasy action adventure that's super heavy on story and atmosphere. You're stepping into the boots of Orpheal, this fallen knight who's, got a memory so shattered it barely makes sense, waking up in this old crumbling temple deep underground. The whole vibe is kind of surreal. You wander through places like the Behemoth Graveyard, massive bones just scattered everywhere. And then you hit the Ashlands, where these weird factions are locked in their own grim struggles. And the choices you make in conversations, they can actually push the story in totally different directions. So yeah, if you're in lore that kind of sneaks up on you, and the freedom to shape your own path through the weirdness, Nazareth: The Fallen World is one to watch. Lies of P Overture is like taking us right back to Crate, but before all the chaos, before the whole puppet frenzy turns the place into a nightmare. The city's still got that belly pock charm, but yeah, it's on the edge of falling apart. It's not just a quick add-on either. We're talking like 15 to 25 hours depending on how you roll. If you've already mastered the base game, you'll probably cruise faster, but if you're new, yeah, it's gonna chew up more time. And the places you go, man, they're wild. From the creepy carnival gardens to a frozen shipyard, even a messed up zoo. Each area's got its own flavor, and the bosses, yeah, they're brutal, but in that stylish, memorable way. Think giant crocs, twisted beast stuff. They've sprinkled in these new modes too. Battle memories where you can rematch bosses, and Death March for when you feel like punishing yourself with the toughest gauntlet runs. Plus there's fresh weapons, Legion arms, combos, the whole deal to mess with your playstyle. And the wild part? They just shadow dropped this at Summer Game Fest. No build-up, just boom, here it is. Pretty cool way to surprise everyone. Number 10. Unending Dawn. Alright, so Unending Dawn is an open-world action RPG coming from the Chinese developer Parquet's Fate Studio. And yeah, it's definitely catching people's attention with visuals that feel like a blend of Elden Ring's sweeping landscapes and those anime-inspired character designs you'd see in, games like Genshin Impact. There's no fixed release date yet, but they're aiming for a 2025 launch on PlayStation 5, plus iOS and Android, which is a pretty interesting spread. The gameplay looks pretty technical, with a strong emphasis on parrying, kind of like Sekiro. You break enemies' posture, then hit them with these cinematic finishers. The story's set in a world wrecked by a catastrophe called the Day of Unending Dawn, which twisted wildlife into dangerous monsters. You follow the path of cognition, mastering color-coded powers like the Red of War or Blue of Eternity to fight back and uncover what really happened. Number 9. Code Vein 2. So, Code Vein 2 is the much-anticipated sequel to the 2019 anime-inspired Soulslike action RPG, and Bandai Namco officially revealed it at Summer Game Fest 2025. It's set to release in 2026 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC via Steam. The reveal showed a visually gothic, medieval fantasy-inspired world where you once again step into the role of a revenant, a kind of vampire-like warrior. But this time the central theme revolves around the question, if time were a weapon to wield, could you undo the sins of ruin? Gameplay brings back the signature blood code system, draining blood from enemies to fuel powerful abilities. but expands it with a deeper build system, giving you more options to customize weapons, skills, and combat approaches. Partner characters also make a big return, each with unique abilities and story connections that actually affect your journey. The narrative spans 2 different eras, with time travel mechanics letting you alter key events in the past to shape the future. It's a blend of intense Souls-style combat, rich customization, emotional storytelling, and a dark, stylish world, basically taking everything fans loved about the first game and pushing it into even bolder, more ambitious territory. Number 8. Vindictus, Defying Fate. Now, Vindictus, Defying Fate is Nexon's fresh take on its classic MMO, but this time it's a single-player focused action RPG built on Unreal Engine 5, and yeah, it looks stunning. There's no solid release date yet, but pre-alpha tests have already been held, which means they're well into development. This new version drops the old MMO grind completely and shifts to more deliberate, Souls-like combat. You'll need to read enemy attack patterns, nail the timing for just guard and just evade to counter perfectly, and really master precision play. The story retells the original's Celtic-inspired mythos, but with much deeper narrative beats, fully voiced characters, and a bigger focus on solo play. Fan-favorite characters like Lan and Fiona make a return, each with their own distinct fighting styles, so it's definitely a nostalgic callback, but also something totally fresh. Number 7. Project M by Hound 13. Project M is a dark fantasy action RPG coming from South Korea's Hound 13, the studio behind 100 Soul. Even from its early prototype footage, the combat stands out as incredibly stylish, fluid, and yes, pretty brutal. The game's being developed for both PC and consoles on Unreal Engine 4, though the release date is still under wraps. The team is aiming for a high level of realism, and that includes characters showing visible injuries as fights go on, cuts, bruises, even torn armor. The combat is fast-paced with constant movement, dodging, weaving through attacks, and striking back at just the right moment. And given that Garena has invested in the studio, there's a good chance we'll see some form of online or MMO-style elements woven into the gameplay. It's got this grounded, gritty aesthetic, paired with flashy combat animations, so it kind of feels like it's trying to balance raw realism with dramatic, almost cinematic action. If they pull it off, it could end up being one of those games that hooks both Souls-like fans and players who just love over-the-top, skill-based battles. Number 6. Project The Perceiver. From Chinese studio 17ZHE, Project The Perceiver first grabbed attention with its painterly, almost oil-painted art style and its unusual mask-based gameplay. While no release date is confirmed, late 2025 seems the most likely window. At its core, it's a Souls-like, so you can expect acrobatic combat, tight parries, and really challenging one-on-one duels. The masks you collect are more than just equipment. They embody entire philosophies or worldviews, and wearing them grants unique powers that can change your playstyle entirely. The setting is a fictional version of ancient China that's teetering on collapse, which opens the door to plenty of political intrigue, betrayals, and morally gray choices. The game also adds stealth, parkour, and environments that respond dynamically to your actions. The developers have been clear. They want this to be more than a straightforward action game. They're aiming for something that makes you think carefully about the choices you make, and how those choices ripple through the story. Number 5. Ballad of Antara. Ballad of Antara is a free-to-play action RPG from Tipsworks Studio, the creators of Pascal's Wager, and it's being published by Infold Games. Built in Unreal Engine 5, it's set to launch in 2025 for PS5, PC, and mobile. You play as an emissary, each one with their own class and unique abilities. The game lets you form a squad of 3 emissaries and swap between them instantly during combat, creating these dynamic chains of attacks that keep fights intense and varied. You'll travel alongside a mysterious young girl named Dromos, venturing through vast, beautifully designed landscapes and into the surreal otherworld known as the Para, a place twisted by ancient, malevolent forces. Your main goal is to restore the world, but it's clear from the early trailers that the journey is going to be filled with personal stories, tragic encounters, and epic boss battles. The mix of party-based action with a single-player focus could make this stand out from other fantasy RPGs coming next year. Number 4. Soulframe from Digital Extremes. The team behind Warframe comes Soulframe, their big leap into a mythic, nature-infused fantasy world. Early access is planned for 2025, with closed prelude tests already underway. You step into the role of an envoy, a banished warrior tied to ancestral spirits, tasked with fighting a creeping corruption spreading across the land of Midrath. Combat is slower, heavier, and more deliberate than Warframe's acrobatic gunplay. It's closer to Dark Souls-style melee, but with the option for co-op. A standout feature is the ability to bond with omen beasts, majestic creatures like wolves, stags, and more, that fight alongside you in battle and can even help solve environmental puzzles. The world is lush, layered with folklore, and encourages exploration. Digital Extremes has described this as a more narrative-driven experience, with the kind of rich lore and atmosphere that could keep players exploring for years. Number 3. Abyss World: Apocalypse. Abyss World: Apocalypse is a third-person action RPG from Abyss Studio, set in the massive realm of Nornidia, a land thrown into chaos after the mysterious Fire Thief event disrupted the balance of souls. It's targeting a 2025 release for PS5 and PC. You play as Nightingale, a shadowy figure with the rare ability to travel to the underworld. The game blends challenging action combat with deep exploration, letting you uncover multiple storylines tied to the fate of this fractured world. As you journey, you'll encounter strange allies, dangerous enemies, and remnants of a once great civilization now teetering on the edge of collapse. It's not just about fighting, it's about piecing together the truth of what happened, and your choices in dialogue and action can shape how the story unfolds. The combination of dark fantasy storytelling with Souls-like combat could make it a sleeper hit. Number 2. Mortal Shell 2. The cult favorite Souls-like from Cold Symmetry is getting a full sequel, Mortal Shell 2, set to launch in 2026 for PS5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. The unique shell mechanic is back, letting you possess the bodies of fallen warriors to gain their abilities, but the combat has been overhauled in big ways. One major change, the stamina bar, is gone. That opens the door for a more aggressive, relentless fighting style, and now ranged weapons are joining the mix. The world is much larger this time, with over 60 dungeons to explore, all interconnected to create a seamless, oppressive, dark fantasy setting. The tone is still bleak and unforgiving, but with the expanded scope and deeper combat system, it feels like Cold Symmetry is trying to evolve beyond the first game's cult status into something that can stand alongside the heavyweights of the genre. Number 1. Phantom Blade Zero. Phantom Blade Zero from S-Game fuses Chinese martial arts, steampunk flair, and dark fantasy into what they're calling a kung fu punk aesthetic. It's coming to PS5 and PC, though there's no release date yet. You play as Soul, an elite assassin framed for killing his own master. You've got just 66 days to uncover the truth before time runs out. The combat is lightning fast and combo-driven, directed by Kenji Tanigaki. Yes, the same action choreographer behind some of the most iconic martial arts films. Expect cinematic boss fights, multiple weapon styles, and a semi-open world filled with factions, secrets, and deadly rivals. From what's been shown, it's this seamless mix of old-school martial arts mastery with high-energy, almost balletic fight choreography, wrapped in a grim, fantastical world that's begging to be explored. And that wraps up our countdown of the most exciting upcoming action RPGs. Whether you're into brutal Souls-like challenges, sweeping fantasy worlds, or fast-paced martial arts combat, 2025 and beyond are stacked with games worth your time. So get ready, your next adventure is just around the corner.